All right, and we are back now with the one and only Jason Strudwick from the Team 1260, former NHL player. Jason, how you doing? How you doing tonight, sir?
Well, Avry, I'll tell you what, man, I'm excited to be on your show. I've been to mine quite a few times, and it's just I'm fired up to be on yours.
That's right. That's right. You know, I came down a few months ago to do a story on your show on Nate Newswatch when you were a brand new host. I mean, now you know you're you're a few months in now, Jason. What's it like now? You know, it's been a few months. What's it like now to really get into the groove of being a talk show host for you now, Jason?
Well, you know what, Avry? I'm not gonna lie to you. The first couple was I was pretty nervous. You know, I was lucky though. I was able to spend some time last summer working with Jason Gregg, who also has a program on the Team 1260. And then over the summer, I got to work and fill in a lot of guys on different shows on the same station when guys were on vacation. And you know, I'm really thankful for that because it made me realize how much preparation you need to do. You know, a lot of people think that maybe you just turn the mic on and start talking, but that's not the case. You know, you prepare for all the people you interview. You prepare for open segments so you're informed and you can make, you know, give good solid opinions, a bit of back them up with some facts. So, you know, after all that, I was much more prepared to have my own show. If I would have started off just been given my show without really having any time to do other shows before, I would have been really unprepared for it because it's a lot of work but it's a great show. I mean, I love doing it. I get to work with your friend and my friend. You know, the stud, Mark Majot, and, you know, he's a great producer. I want him talking a lot. He talks a lot. And, you know, it's just, I'm really happy with my show and the direction it's going, and I'm really proud of it.
That's true. And one thing, Jason, you know, if people who don't really know you, they may know you're an NHL player, so they may think, oh, it's going to be a hockey-only show. But one thing I praise you for, Jason, that you know your NFL, you know baseball, you know NBA, you know Olympic sports, you know more than just the National Hockey League, which I've talked to you about before.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, obviously hockey is my strength. You know, that's something I played 17 years professional hockey, 2 years of junior before that, and, you know, I've played my whole life. So I know hockey in and out. You know, that's the easy one for me to talk about. But I'm a sports fan. I mean, I love sports. I love, you know, I'm not a real stat guy. I'm not a guy that gets off rattling off stats about this one guy or this guy. What I love are the stories. I love hearing people's stories. How did they get to where they're going? How did they get to be the best they are? How did they recover from an injury? You know, what was it like playing with this guy? Like, those are the stories I love to hear. And so when I have guests on my show, that's what I ask about. I'm not really a stat kind of guy. I just want to know the stories because, like, I like my show to be something like a 30 for 30, you know, or behind the scene, behind the lines, I think the show's called. I love that stuff where you hear more than just the stats, and that's what my show's all about.
No, of course. I mean, your show is fantastic. Show on Team 1260, 9 p.m. until midnight, Mountain Time here in Edmonton. I got to you, Jason. I know the NHL, we're still locked out. It's day 489, I think. I mean, and now the and the NHL and NHLPA, you know, they say they're going to meet tomorrow. I mean, they met over the weekend, but to me, Jason, I feel until they get a deal done, they should be meeting every single day right now. It's frustrating right now, Jason.
Well, it is, but I mean, I think the general public wants them to meet more often, and I respect that. But you know, it's kind of like if you're fighting with your wife or your girlfriend. You know, if you just keep talking about the same thing and there's no progress, you're just kind of wasting time. You know, so I think sometimes it's best just to back off and everyone, you know, cool down a little bit because there are some bad feelings. There's some harsh feelings on both sides. You know, I've said all along that the NHL made a big mistake with that first offer they made, where they asked for 57% of the revenues and just gave the players 43%. You know, that might be where they think it should be, but that was a terrible first offer, and it became a very ugly negotiation from that second on. I've talked to a lot of players, and that's what they all say. But looking forward, you know, they are getting a talk, and I think the offer that the owners made to get it to 50-50, even though it doesn't keep the contracts whole for the players, it was a good starting point. I think that they are talking. I do expect there to be a season now. I don't know how many games will be played. I don't know if it'll be a full schedule, but I'm way more hopeful than I was before the NHL sent that other offer up to get to 50-50. I was very pessimistic, but that offer gave me some hope. And here's hoping that hockey starts. Do I want to put myself out there? I guess I will. I think we'll have hockey before the end of November. We'll have a new CPA in place.
And in November, really? Okay, I think January 1st, but that's bold, Jason. I don't know about that, but okay with that. Interesting. And of course, Of course, the league now.
Well,
Of course,
Mike, you got to have me back on, and then you can tell me how smart I am.
I will. But I know, Jason, I know the Winter Classic was canceled, unfortunately. And that's one game it's been a premier showcase for the league. And to have that game now act, that has to hurt to have that game between the Leafs and the Red Wings at Ann Arbor now gone from the schedule now for the league.
Well, Avry, you know, it's funny. I don't know that everyone made such a big deal that was a big sticking point, or a pressure point. People kept saying that, you know, the NHL really wants to have it. It's so important for the players because it's a lot of revenue. And, you know, for the players, I don't think it really made a big difference. Maybe the two teams that are playing it are disappointed. But for every other team, it's just another game of the season. That being said, for the NHL, I believe it's a huge marketing thing. You get a lot of non-traditional hockey fans, both in Canada and the U.S., and actually, quite frankly, when I was in Sweden last year, a lot of fans watched the program 24/7. That's a great thing, and I think it was more for the owners. And that's why I still think there's a chance the deal might get done sooner than later, so they can somehow cobble together a Winter Classic, because it's that important for the owners to have that, and it sells the game into non-traditional homes. You know, because it's just a great story, and that's what people want. I hate to say it, but that's what fans want. They want stories. They can look up stats. They can look up, they can read, Jason Strudwick likes to eat ribs. You know, anyone can read that on the internet, but they want stories, and that's what 24/7 is. That's the background story. You want to talk about Boyle, and I think he's got 50 other brothers and sisters, or you talk about how on 24/7 how crazy, what was that goalie's name, Russian, Brizgalov?
Oh, Brizgalov, yeah.
People love seeing that. That was great TV. And that's what makes that program so special, and that's why the NHL, I think, wants to get that in there, because it's the stories, and it gets people watching the game that aren't normal hockey fans.
That's true, and of course, with the National Hockey League, I mean, being a guy who played in the league yourself, you know it's hard for the NHL to be in that mainstream media light, because the NHL is still, in a sense, the fourth or fifth tier sport in America to many people, Jason.
Oh, there's no doubt, yeah. It's not even close to the top three, and I guess, well, it's so much farther away from football than any one other one. Then baseball is probably second, I guess. Then you got basketball ahead of it. And now I think, hockey's down there, I hate to say it, but right around NASCAR racing, or whatever they call it, auto racing, I guess. So the NHL's got a way to go, and I think the way to bridge that gap is to sell this story. I think the NFL does a great job. Well, they have to do a great job of a lot of things. But you feel like you know those guys. You know, it's one game a week that really, the players are way more open to interviews, way more, the media's way more access, and the NHL and the NHLPA both have to get to that point where they say, hey, we got to get more, because right now we're not given enough.
That is true. I mean, I want to ask you, Jason, I know you've been a guy, you went through two lockouts. I guess you were at Ellis in 94, right? You were on for the first lockout 94. Maybe you weren't that involved, but I guess 04 or 05. How involved were you in that lockout?
I'm not that old.
No?
I'm not that old. I wasn't around for 94.
Okay, well, 04 or 05. I know you played in Europe, you played in Hungary, and you played in Switzerland. How involved were you in that lockout process, or were you really involved at all in that one, in 04, Jason?
You know what? I was a player rep my first 2 years. In Vancouver, my whole time in Vancouver, I was a player rep. You know what? It's just a thankless job. I never really enjoyed it. The players that ask you to go tell the GM something, then the GM would yell at you and tell you that, you're wrong. And so you go back and tell the players that you disagreed, and then the players would yell at you, so you could never win. And then, I moved to Chicago. I wasn't a player rep, and I made a conscious decision I didn't want to be it anymore. Now, I was informed in 04 and 05, but, whatever. It ended up being a waste of a year. That being said, this is going to sound crazy, but I actually enjoyed the lockout. It made me realize I'd be okay without NHL in my life. I had other interests. I got to go traveling a bit in Hungary, and I got to play hockey there, which was a great experience with my cousin. And, quite frankly, I really got, and this is going to sound crazy, but I spent a lot of time with my now wife. So that helped solidify our relationship. So, whatever. I guess things happen for a reason. Would I have rather played hockey? Yeah. But, I guess it is, a situation is what you make of it, and I made the best of it. And I actually look back on it as kind of good memories.
No, of course, for you, that's positive thing, and not many guys can say that. But I know with the lockout right now, a lot of Russian guys, like the Ovechkin, the Datsyuks, they're saying right now that if things don't get done, we may stay in Russia. I mean, that would be horrible for the league if Ovechkin doesn't come back for a new season, Jason.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing they stay there. I mean, I think listen, I was a player once, and I got mad at Edmonton all the time, too, and I still get upset with them now. But, I think they're talking a little bit crazy. I mean, these guys some of them have 7, 8, 9, 10 years left in their deals, and there's an agreement between the KHL and the NHL where they're not allowed to, sign players that are under contract in the other league. So if the guy's under contract in the NHL, the KHL can't sign them for, if there's a non-lockout year. So I think they got a little excited, and I respect that. I mean, the emotions run high in these situations, but, quite honestly, they don't want to come back. That's fine. Let them stay there. There'll be another Ovechkin coming. There'll be another Brizgalov, whatever, but they'll be back. I'd be floored if they didn't come back. I'll say this, though. If they don't let Olympian or U.S. If they don't let NHL players play in the Olympics, I guarantee that the Russian guys will be leaving to go play in the Olympics. That's for sure.
Oh, I agree with that wholeheartedly, Jason. I do agree with that. But I guess with the lockout, the one positive side, looking at the American League, and with the Oilers connection, the AHL, the Barons, Justin Schultz, what a kid right now. Schultz just lining up right now. He got Eberle, he got Hall. I mean, the Barons, they're a team to reckon with right now in the American Hockey League, Jason.
It sure is. You know what I like about it? I like that the team's doing pretty well down there. They're getting some wins, and they're learning to win together. And that's the thing. I mean, let's be honest. The older group of guys that are here right now probably won't be around when this young core gets good enough to really compete for a playoff spot. Do I think they'll compete for a playoff spot this year? I think it's a bit of a stretch. I think they can get close to it. But if they made the playoffs, that'd be an exceptionally successful year for this group. But the guys you just mentioned down there, Nuge and Eberle and Hall and Schultz, I expect Hardikainen hopefully to make it up at some point. Magnus Bjarvi, these type of guys, they're the core of the group going forward. And these guys have to learn what it's like to win together and get that feeling. Because quite honestly, there hasn't been that feeling around Edmonton for quite a few years. And like I said, the older guys that are around right now, like your Horkoffs and Smiths and all that, I mean, they're good veterans, but in 2 or 3 years when the team is really competing, I'd have a hard time envisioning a scenario where those types of guys are still on the team just because of age. Not because of play, but just because of age.
Right, you mentioned the playoffs. I mean, I don't know, they could make it, because think about a 58 or 60 game schedule. They get hot, short schedule. They may make the playoffs. I think they can make the playoffs as a 7th or 8th seed team, Jason. That's my thoughts on that. They could be a playoff squad, I think, in a shortened season.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, you're a pretty optimistic guy. That's why I love you, Avry. I don't know if they can make it. I'd have to look at, you look at some of the teams. I think Nashville could have a drop off. They're a team that can maybe follow the playoffs, and maybe Detroit. But to replace them, you fully expect LA to be stronger this year. I mean, they won the Stanley Cup, but they're not just going to skimp in and barely make the playoffs. I expect Minnesota to have a big improvement. I don't expect Calgary. Calgary's going to be horrible. Vancouver will be good. Colorado's a team that, very similar Oilers. They might have a year where they compete for a playoff spot. So, and all the other guys, I think, all those other teams that made the Western Conference last year will probably make the playoffs again. So, I don't see a lot of teams dropping out. I see maybe one, and then there's quite a few teams fighting for that spot. So, it could be every and then that, they can get good goaltending. Anything's possible, right?
No, most definitely. You mentioned no teams dropping off. What about Detroit? I mean, no more Nick Lindstrom. I mean, you didn't even fill that gap properly, filling that Lindstrom gap, because he was the heart and soul of that Red Wings team, Jason.
It'd be tough to fill that. There's no doubt. That's a guy that you don't replace him. That's like a Scott Niedermayer leaving your team, or just a huge guy on that team. So it's gonna be tough. That being said, Detroit's got some great forwards. I still think they're very competitive for a playoff spot. I don't know if they're a playoff team. They have to do something with that defense, because that defense is not good. Quite honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if my phone rang and they asked me to come out of retirement. He plays well. Guys that have there already.
That's funny. And you mentioned Niedermayer. Yeah, name dropping your family members, Jason. Name dropping your cousin, Scott Niedermayer.
Yeah, I got to give back that love. You know what? He was a fantastic player, and there's not a lot of guys I say I really enjoyed watching. But he's one guy I really miss watching play. I love watching him play hockey. It's just a treat to see what he can do out there.
What was like to play against him? What was like to play against him, Jason? I'm sure you played against him a few games in your career.
Yeah, we sure did. Yeah, he was so good. He was so unpredictable. On the power play, I remember most teammen just stand on the point, right, and pass around. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget the first few times I played, he was standing in the slot. This guy was in the slot as a D-man. And so, you have him in the slot, and now you're trying to think, okay, well, where's the forward? He's supposed to be in the slot. It was just crazy. He created so many matchup issues, and I really enjoyed watching him play. And like I said, there's a few guys, him and Datsuk. I love watching Datsuk play. I enjoy watching Henrik Lundqvist play because he's such a competitor, such a good goalie. You know, Jaromir Jagr's another guy I like to play. So there's, I like to watch play, but it's there's just some guys are, you know, we all have our favorites, but there's just some special players that do greater things than everybody else, and those guys I mentioned are definitely in that group.
No, they most definitely are. They most definitely are those kind of guys. I want to ask you, switching gears, Jason, for a second. I know you're a versatile guy, so I got to ask you. I know you're a big New York Giants fan, so what was your thoughts on that tough loss to the Steelers? What was that like?
Come on. Eli Manning, what happened? That's my boy, too, but holy smokes, I have him on my fantasy team. I think he got me 2 points. 2.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
He's my quarterback, too. So.
But who was your quarterback?
Eli's my quarterback, too, man, so I feel your pain.
I know. How bad was he? I mean, and he's been really good all year, so I'm not going to complain. I'm just saying he wasn't good. But yeah, you know, and I thought there was a chance to win the game, but give Pittsburgh credit. They played a good game. They played well. But the funny thing about the Giants is they lose when they think they should win, and then they win when they think they should lose. You know, they went into San Fran a couple weeks ago and just put a beat down on that team. I mean, that makes me very clear in my mind how good this group can be. But they're a funny team. They're almost fickle. Like, when they want to play, they're incredible, and then some nights they're just not there. So I'm not too worried about it. I think they're going to be a good group ready to go into the playoffs.
No, most definitely. I mean, they're still a high team, and I thought it was funny because that Giants team.
Yeah.
Have you seen a worse fake field goal than Mike Tomlin's attempt on with the Steelers? I mean, the Sean Sweeten, a 19-yard field goal. You try to fake. Like, wow, that was bad.
I feel bad for that kicker. I mean, that kicker got the ball and it was just a sea of blue coming at him. Poor guy. He should have just thrown a pass just to get rid of it. I felt bad for him, but no, that was kind of a weird call. And I give a coach credit going for it. You know, I think so many teams are so conservative. You know, like Mike Tyson, Chicago with the Bears. I mean, they're so conservative. You know, if they can't get it a safe play, they just let their defense get the ball back from them and go at it again. So I kind of like it. I like that. I like that he went for it, although it was a horrendous play. Yeah, everyone knew what was going on. I was even thinking to myself, this might try something here. Sure enough, he did.
Exactly. Of course, the Monday night game is going on right now. Philadelphia, New Orleans. What are your thoughts on Philly? I mean, this is a team. They started hot, and it's been an absolute slider since. Michael Vick is still starting. Do you think Andy Reid should have benched him, or is Andy Reid right to keep him as a starting quarterback? Do you think, Jason?
Well, I mean, Andy kind of brought him in, right? So that's the point. He's kind of got to ride him. But Michael Vick's the kind of guy that he just turn it around. It's an explosive couple nights, so it's hard. Now, listen, I'm a Vic fan, so you might be asking the wrong guy, but I'd keep going. I'd keep playing him. And that's your boy. When you bring a guy in, that's your boy. You have to run with him. It's just the same as Carlson Palmer there in Raiderville. You gotta keep, and he had a good game, but you got to ride your guy. If you bring him in, you got to ride him. For better, for worse, he's your boy.
No, that most definitely makes sense. So, Jason, who do you have on the show tonight? Who's on top for the show at 9 p.m. tonight here?
Oh, we are jacked up. Yeah, we're on after Monday Night Football. So tonight we got Anita Marks, our NFL expert from Dallas State. She'll tell me what happened with the Giants. And then we have Stanley Nunziata with CFL. And then to talk CFL, then we have Steve Serdachny on. He'll talk about developing young players. And then to wrap it up, we have the head coach of the Kamloops Blazers of the Western League, my old team, to talk about what is going so right for them this year so far.
That's fantastic stuff, Jason. Jason, it's been an absolute blast having you on here. We got to do it again sometime, bro.
Anytime, man. You know where I am, man.
Of course, Jason. Talk to you soon, man.
Okay, bye. Bye-bye.